This is an updated settings guide for Rocket League in 2022. A lot of you have asked for my camera settings and controls, so we're going to be going over all of my settings in this video, whether you're a beginner or pro. So the first settings you're going to go into is going to be your gameplay settings. Split screen layout only really matters if you play on split screen, obviously. This is just going to decide whether or not it's vertical or horizontal. Obviously for me, it doesn't really matter because I don't play split screen. And then cross-platform play is going to decide whether or not you're going to be playing with people on other platforms. So for me, if I had this unchecked, this means I'm only going to play with other PC players because I'm on PC, but I like the shorter queue times and it doesn't really matter to me. So I'm just going to have cross-platform play on, so I'm going to play with everybody. For all the server stuff, I just have it on high. The first three have never really changed. The input buffer I did used to have on default. I think it was legacy back when before an update happened, but ever since I swapped to CSTS, it's been a lot smoother for me, and I kind of recommend CSTS for everybody unless you have, other issues, and it's going to be a case-by-case basis. But for the most part, CSTS is going to be the best bet. I have both competitive divisions and extra mode ranks checked on. If you're the type of player who gets really psyched out by rank or only really cares about rank and it can maybe hinder your performance, I could say maybe you want to turn this off so that you're not really going to worry, you're not going to see when you lose a division or something like that. Other than that, I mean, I like to just have it on, and most people I think just don't really touch these. And then for game stat display level, I have it on main stats only. I think a lot of people tend to have it on main stats only. I want to say by default it's on all stats. I definitely recommend just keep it on the main stats. Only really want to see the main ones, what's really important. And then for the tournament schedule region, I'm gonna have it on US East because I'm from US East. This basically just determines when the tournament times are going to be and what server they're played on. Obviously you can't really finesse the system because you can only change this once every 24 hours. So I don't think you can just play in more tournaments than you should be able to because you swapped these. There's going to be a cap on that, so you're not going to be able to do that. The next thing is the camera settings, which I by far get asked the most. What are your camera settings? These are the camera settings I'm using right now. Just keep in mind, I constantly change these. Literally every single video I've played in, they've probably been some sort of variation of these camera settings. So I'm just going to give you a good range and some general guides for that. Camera shake, I'm always going to say turn it off. I always tell everyone just turn camera shake off because it's going to get in the way when you're trying to dribble the ball, and the shaking camera screen just isn't really the best. Pretty much no pro uses it, I think, other than like Cooks here, which I don't even know if he still uses it. Camera shake off, always gonna recommend that. For the rest of these, actually, I always recommend going into free play. I say this because then you can actually see them change and see them get implemented when you change them around and try to mess with them. So get into free play, go into settings, and then the good general guide for these is going to be 108 to 110 FOV. Most people use 110. I'd stick with 110. For distance, anywhere from 250 to maybe like 280. 270 is very common. Right now I'm with 250. You can have a 90 to 110 height. I'm at 110 with a -3 to -5 angle. These are going to really be dependent on each other, so as long as you stay within these ranges, it's kind of the most important. And then for stiffness, I'm at 0.4 stiffness, swivel speed at 5, and transition speed at 1.2. So these are a little bit more advanced, and all they're going to be is how your camera moves around. So these are the ones you're really going to want to mess around with a little bit and see what you like. So I know with transition speed, some people like to have a really fast transition speed. For me, I'm at 1.2. It feels like a good speed when it swaps between ball cam and no ball cam. But some people like to literally have this at instant, so it just instantly swaps. I like to kind of see the play moving as the camera's moving, so I just have it at 1.2. Next thing is going to be controls. This is going to be a really big preference. I know all of it's kind of preference, but for my bindings, I have all default controls except I have arrow left binded to L1 and then scoreboard swapped to R1. Obviously, if you're an Xbox or keyboard, it's going to be a little bit different, but that's what I have. And then all of your sensitivity options are going to depend a lot on your inputs and how you move. So steering sensitivity is obviously going to affect your stick sensitivity when you're steering. Aerial sensitivity is going to affect your sensitivity during aerials. I know players like AJ and Astral tend to have this really high, but for these I have 1.3 and 1.5. Your controller dead zone is going to be how far your stick must move to the center to affect steering and air control. And dodge dead zones is going to be how far you have to move the stick so that it's going to dodge instead of double jumping. If you notice that you always backflip a lot, then you're going to want to adjust these accordingly to make sure that you're consistently doing what you want to do when you're telling your controller to do it. Obviously, plays are going to happen where you don't mean to do it, but changing these around may be good, even on a day-by-day basis. Some days you may feel like you're backflipping a lot, so you might want to just tweak this a little bit. My dodge dead zones are really high, but it's just because I just feel like I need to have it this high right now. This is something that'll definitely get changed. Obviously, controller vibration. If you want your controller to vibrate, you're welcome to. Most people don't. I think it's not a good idea, so I choose to have it disabled. You may have the option for vibration intensity. I guess my controller just doesn't have it. I don't know. It's obviously not going to be the biggest deal. And then ball cam mode, toggle or hold. Definitely recommend toggle so that you can kind of just click it once, do what you got to do, and click it again instead of just having to like hold it around while you're trying to rotate and drive around the field. I would just recommend having this on toggle. And then obviously you have your keyboard and mouse options. These don't apply to me since obviously I don't play on keyboard and mouse. If you do, then obviously you're going to want to change that accordingly, similar to just kind of like finessing with these ones and changing them around in free play. And then next we're going to have the interface settings. So interface and display aren't too important. It's just going to decide obviously how big your menu settings are, display settings, things like that. And then the nameplate scales are going to be the actual nameplates you see in game. If you never really notice where players are in the field, or you want a little bit of help, maybe you're going to want these a little bit bigger. I have them at 100. I honestly don't think I really changed them. I know players like Squishy have them pretty big, so once again, that's really up to you. I have default nameplates, so just like I said, I didn't really touch them, but you can mess around with these and see what you like. Match notifications, I have kickoffs only. I used to have all, but I found that they really got in the way. Just keep in mind, if you swap to kickoffs only, it's not going to give you those 30 seconds or 10-second update. It'll make the noise, but it's not going to actually show up on screen. So when I first swapped to this, I would always not realize what time it was, and it would be 0 seconds, and I wouldn't try to keep the ball up because I'm not really paying attention because it didn't give me that extra update. So if you do swap to them, just keep that in mind, but eventually you'll get used to them, and ideally, I think kickoffs only is the best option. Connection quality indicators, I choose to have off. It kind of depends if you lag a lot and you want to see it. I kind of can just tell if I'm lagging, so I just don't really want more things in the way for me. Colorblind mode, obviously you can have on if you have issues with being colorblind. I know some people still like to use this anyways. It just kind of slightly changes, I think, the orange to like a yellow and just things like that. Force default team colors, I have this on. I don't really like the team clan options where it'll change the colors to whatever your team colors are. I just like to see the orange and blue default, so I have that on. And then I have notifications on during gameplay, so if somebody invites you, obviously it's still going to pop up when you're in game. For me, it's honestly not that distracting, so I don't really care too much, so I leave that on. Team color boost meter, another just display preference. It's either going to be the default color or it's going to be based on what color team you are. So if you're on blue team, it's going to be blue, and if you're on orange team, obviously it's going to be orange. The metric is decide whether or not you want to have metric or imperial units. So if you want to measure how fast your shots are in kilometers or miles, you're going to want to change this accordingly. Ball cam indicator is just going to be that little thing in the bottom left corner that shows ball cam. Obviously I already know when my ball cam is or isn't on, so I just have this off because I just don't want other things in the way. A lot of newer players tend to have this on. Like when I first started playing, I had this on. And the ball arrow, I would say you do want to have the ball arrow on since this isn't really in the way, but it's going to show you when you're at a ball cam where the ball is to some extent. So I'd say leave ball arrow on, maybe turn ball cam indicator off, but you can leave it on if you prefer it. Then for performance graphs and cross-platform friends, I just didn't really bother changing these, so I just left these at default. Then for video settings, you're probably going to want these default, whatever resolution that's normally at is the resolution you're going to want it to be in, obviously. Display mode, I say full screen is usually the best option. It really depends on you. This is more of a display thing, so whatever you do for other games is probably what you're going to want to do here, except obviously you're going to want to keep VSync off because I know it can be a latency issue and causes some problems, so I'd say leave VSync off. For basic settings, just do whatever you think is good. This is what I have it at: off, high quality, custom at 144 FPS, just because that's what's recommended to me. Same with advanced settings. It's going to kind of be what you like and what your PC can handle. I have it at high performance, and then low intensity. While these are preference, I would say these checkboxes are kind of the more important ones. My PC can definitely handle if I put all these on, and it does make it look a lot higher quality, but I like to have it set for performance, so I decided to just have pretty much all of these checked off except transparent goalposts. I would say you can kind of have high quality shaders on like I used to, whether or not you like it, but I would like to just have all of them off except transparent goalposts. For audio, it's going to be pretty self-explanatory. Audio settings, if you want to adjust them through here, you can do that. I just adjust mine all through Windows, so I don't really worry about stuff like this. The things players do tend to change are these settings here. So if you want the soundtrack to play while you're in training or in game, you can have these set on. Most people just have them in the menu because you don't really want to be distracted, or you play your own music anyways, so you just have it in menu. And then obviously the streamer safe music. If you're a streamer and you want it to mute or replace any of the DMCA stuff, you're going to have that on or off, obviously. The next setting is obviously just going to be chats. If you really want to see them, here they are. They just vary, preference based, whatever you want to have them at, whatever settings you want. These are the ones I have. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions about any of my settings. If you want to see them in action, be sure to check out this video where I tried to reach Supersonic Legend without getting scored on one time. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.